Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, good morning, our viewers. My name is Norman Tumuhimbise. I am with the Justice Kanyeihamba. We must apologize. There were some lots of emergencies that we had, so we couldn't have him last Wednesday. That's yesterday but one. But by God's grace, he spared time again that we appear today, being a Friday, so that he can continue with his episodes, through which he continues to lecture to the world about the constitutional history of our great pal, that's Uganda. We stream live on the Alternative Uganda social media page, that's Facebook, and also YouTube, the same names, the Alternative Uganda, and also on Digitalk TV Facebook page. Previously, that's last week, Wednesday, we were discussing a few basics in regards to the difference between the martial law, call it decrees, and also legal notices, and we were done at a time. Today, I want to begin on a lighter note, definitely condoling with Great Britain for having lost Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, but definitely as one of the citizens, for lack of another word, and whose family still resides in UK, as far as I know, and you taught in UK for some good years. In fact, when we discuss with Justice Kanyeihamba, some of the characters of perfectionism are learned from there. For lack of another word, they have spoiled him to be so strict with the time management, to be so strict with lots of things. So may you please communicate the word in regards to the loss of Her Majesty?
Well, obviously, not because I lived in UK for a long time, but I am one of those who are mourning, genuinely mourning, the passing of a great head of state we have ever had in the world. And I say the world because she's been head of state for over 70 years as queen, not only of Britain, which is composed of 4 nationalities, the English, the Welsh, the Scottish, and the Irish, and they have all loved her as if she was their own. But also she's the head of the Commonwealth, which includes Uganda.
Yeah.
Now to show you how popular and important the Commonwealth was, countries which were not previously possessions of the British government, the British state, have voluntarily applied
To be part of the
to
Commonwealth.
become part of the Commonwealth, mainly because of the aura of the Queen Elizabeth II of England. She was the most unifying factor in the Commonwealth. So countries like South Africa, which had which had been expelled from the Commonwealth because of
Apartheid.
apartheid. When she came back into democracy and the rule of law, she applied South Africa to come back as a member of the Commonwealth.
If anyone,
Pakistan, I don't know, had a quarrel over the issue of India, and the Commonwealth didn't particularly help Pakistan. She also left the Commonwealth. I believe also she has come back. Rwanda,
yeah.
no connection whatsoever with
Yeah.
British culture or government, has applied and is now a member of the Commonwealth. That is the measure of the importance Queen Elizabeth II had for us in the world. In fact, I can see without hesitation that she was a unifying factor in the whole world of today. The Americans, the Russians, remember the Russian president Gorbachev visiting her in honor. Japan, with its ancient kingdom, copied many rules from England because they thought under the Queen, England rule of law and culture was the best. And therefore, many countries are mourning the Queen as I speak. Non-Commonwealth countries, communist, capitalist, socialist, fascist, they are all being united and are remembering the Queen as perhaps one of the greatest human beings that has ever lived. So we Ugandans, whatever political persuasion or religious belief, we join in with the Queen's family and Britain in the morning, Queen Elizabeth. I think in the future they may call in another name, Queen Elizabeth II and the great leader in the world.
Okay. I want to read to you just part of the statement issued by economic freedom fighters. It's one of the strongest parties. In fact, it's the leading opposition, for lack of another word, in South Africa, led by Honorable Julius Malema, who at some time was a youth leader in ANC. He goes ahead in his statement yesterday, he said, "We do not mourn the death of Elizabeth because to us, her death is a reminder of a very tragic period in this country and Africa history at large. Britain under the leadership of the royal family took over control of the territory and would become South Africa in 1795 from I think I'll skip some of the things, but to say they want to them, they say they find Queen Elizabeth not worth celebrating, and this is the statement from Economic Freedom Fighters, a political party in South Africa. Do you think, in your view, that as a colonial leader, to be honest, what is factual is that he was the head
First of all, I fundamentally and ideologically disagree totally
with such a statement
with that man who I was saying
Malema,
that. Yes. People don't see history as it should be seen. They see it in their own selfish reasons. I can never fathom anybody in the Commonwealth. South Africa came to be part of the Commonwealth. Itself applied. Why doesn't he criticize his government?
Who applied that?
Yes. It's very diversionary. It is, in my opinion, not worth even discussing. Everybody knows he's wrong.
I want kindly to hear your view, closing with this statement as well, that God, he says that the Queen has never once acknowledged the atrocities or even blamed them in open. Do you agree?
But they have. You see, the man is ignorant. The British Cabinet Foreign Minister, even one of the Prime Ministers, have apologized for the atrocities that were committed against African peoples, not just South African. Secondly, Britain helped
in the fight against
in the
apartheid.
fighting against apartheid. One or two prime ministers, including the late Margaret Thatcher, may have hesitated. She was a strong right-wing leader, and the right-wing leaders tended to sympathize with apartheid. That is a fact. But not the Queen. The Queen loved the Commonwealth. She visited South Africa. She entertained Mandela, who loved that entertainment. Mulema is mistaken, totally mistaken.
Okay. That was an insight, definitely from Justice Kanyeihamba. We want to now come back to to our neighbor. I am sure you were following the sequence of events as they, took place in Kenya. About the ruling, did you expect it that way as a justice?
I didn't accept it because I thought the evidence that Oding and his team had given was genuine. But once the Supreme Court said that it was false, that it was all forgery, I condemned any lawyer in Kenya who prepared and signed that evidence because they are all corrupt. For me, I praised the conduct and the procedures used in the Kenya election about the presidency, and I suggest that we should emulate the Kenyan example of free and fair elections. Why do I say that? Because the Electoral Commission very wisely demystified the term president. If you remember, they first assessed and declared the election of members of parliament. They also verified and declared the results of the Senate. These are the two most important bodies which make laws and govern Uganda. Or rather Kenya, govern Kenya. Then they went and verified the election of governors who govern all the provinces of the Kenya. When they finished that, we didn't hear anything about the presidents. Nobody was saying, what is about the presidents? On the side, the presidential election results were coming slowly by slowly. One time they would be led by Odinga, another time they would be led by Ruto. But we didn't worry about them because we were listening to the results of the other governors of Kenya. So to me, that was wonderful. That even in Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, Southern Sudan, and Rwanda, we should have the elections like that, but announce the others so that people are excited and pleased or displeased with the results of parliament first, the Senate, if we have a Senate, local government governors, before we turn our attention to
Presidents.
the presidents who actually are the head of state and hardly ever govern the country. You people have forgotten. Currently, we are governed by a minister and two relatives of the president. And Museveni is their spokesperson. He's not the governor. He doesn't govern. He only announces when the governors have made a decision. And he adopts it as his own. So to me, the idea of demystifying the presidency is the most important. I am told that the new president of Kenya, Ruto, whom I accept as the president of Kenya in the light of the findings of the Supreme Court, is a friend of our own president, President Museveni. And it was rumored that that friendship forced Museveni to congratulate Ruto before the Supreme Court had made its decision. And secondly, Ruto is proposing him, Museveni, to be the first president of East Africa if we become a position, if we become a federation. But that is misleading. Only the other day, President Museveni said he's ready to retire and go to his... yes,
take care of his cat.
That's right. I have been watching the politics of East Africa, and I am hoping that the next president will be a woman.
The one for
If
Uganda?
we have the federation.
Oh, the federation.
Yes. If we have a federation, it's the leader of the region, if we federate,
Should be, in your view, should be a woman.
should be a woman. In Uganda, we have Kadaga, who is now Minister of East African Affairs. Therefore, she's familiar with the region, the policies, the rules. She was previously our Speaker of Parliament. So she's grounded in the art of governance. Tanzania, they already have a woman president. And she would be a candidate if East Africa federated and we had one unified government. She would also be an excellent president because she hasn't done anything we have heard about that is wrong when she's governing Tanzania, which is bigger than Uganda. The third is one I hoped would have gone through this time, Karia. Martha Karia, I know her as a fighter for human rights. We used to meet in international fora while she was very active in the defense of human rights. So she would be a very good president. So in Rwanda, I don't know very well, although I helped to sort out their higher education. But I gather there was a lady who was challenging Kagame.
The one he put in, the one he jailed.
And maybe...
she's the one that Kagame jailed because apparently she had been sentenced 10 or so years.
So whoever she is, I don't know her. Could be another presidential candidate for Eastern region. When I was in North Sudan, I met there, I went there to advise them on the legal process. And I met a very powerful woman there. I forget her name. She was contending for leadership in the South Sudan government. That one also could be a possible president for East Africa Federation. So that is why I am saying that we have enough women
That can lead.
who can become president, in default of which Luther himself should be campaigning for himself, because he's young, he's vibrant, he represents the ordinary people, the majority of East Africans are peasants and poor people. He himself has said he wants to be known as what is this word they use?
This is a hustler.
Yeah,
He's a
hustler.
hustler.
That's right. So he's eminently qualified to become the first president
Of East African
of
Federation.
East African Federation.
But do you see that federation coming close? If no, what do you think has delayed such a federation to?
It's only the current leaders, not the one incoming, but the current leaders who have delayed. No federation can come without Uganda agree. President Museveni is not very keen. Although publicly said, I want to be the first president, whatever. But when it comes to fighting for it, he has got cold feet. I'll tell you what I mean. His previous ministers of East Africa community were octogenarian. I think one has died because of complications because of old age, and the other one, of course, now my good friend Shem Bagene, he was the deputy minister. He was also over 80. Now, if you love a system and you want the ministers to help bring it about, you don't appoint octogenarians like Kanyeihamba to be in charge. So it shows you the importance President Museveni attaches
To the federation.
Yes. He claims, and the people like Ruta claims for him, that he is suitable for being the first president of the federation. But if you talk to Kenyans, and I do, and Tanzanians, one of my relatives is a Tanzanian, they said, no way.
They don't find him suitable to lead the federation?
So realistically, in my opinion, looking at the facts and the politics of the region, the first president of the federation, if you ever have one, should not be Ugandan.
Okay.
For historical reasons.
Okay. I want to take you back to the Kenyan Supreme Court decision. Previously, as the whole world knows, you contributed towards their constitutionalism. And one of the principles we were discussing off record some time ago was in regards to what constitutes the Electoral Commission. And definitely it is 7 commissioners.
Yes.
Supervised by their chairperson. Don't you think, in your view, could it have been evidence enough that out of the 7 commissioners, 4 had walked away and disagreed with the final findings and the entire process, rather than the Supreme Court throwing away the petition or even considering some of the affidavits being forgery or something like that? What does that mean to the entire commission? What about tomorrow?
That is the most important question we are going to discuss today. And I wish Kenyans would be listening. All of the grounds that Odinga and his lawyers, 42 of them, wrote, one succeeded. And that one ground is that the chairman of the Electoral Commission had no power or legal authority to announce the results, the final result. And I had a discussion with the Professor Lumumba, a renowned professor in Kenya. We both agree that the Supreme Court was right to say the chairman of the Electoral Commission had no power
Solo powers as an individual.
alone
Yeah.
to declare the result. Then I don't know, I haven't talked to my friend. In my opinion, they should have said, therefore, since the chairman's result of declaring the result is wrong, they should have directed the Electoral Commission to do the job, complete the job, meet again, and agree on who won the election, looking at the result. That did not happen. Therefore, that was, in my opinion, with the greatest respect, a mistake and an error
By the Supreme Court.
made by the Supreme Court. Going back, had I been representing Odinga and looked at all the evidence, I would have given only one ground.
Yeah, sure.
And they said the chairman had no powers to announce this.
So the rest of the grounds become secondary.
Yes.
Because this one is the main ground.
Yeah, because you see, the 42 lawyers were all wrong to say nobody won. Because if you say nobody won, and if the Supreme Court hadn't talked about the chairman's unlawful declaration of the result, then all the votes would have, where did they go? They went to Luther. Because you are saying nobody won. But all the votes were counted. Whether it was a low count, whether only 2 people voted, nevertheless, Luther would have won on that argument. So they were absolutely all wrong. They were even more, they were criminal for presenting evidence which they knew was false and untrue. And in my ideal world of utopia, I would have them all censured for breaking their oath as officers of the court.
I want to, our viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba and we are still streaming live on our social media page. That's the Alternative Uganda Facebook page and Digitalk TV. I want to ask, where does such a precedent leave Kenya? Because if they have now, Supreme Court has not considered the fact that Electoral Commission means 7 commissioners, what if some other elections now 2 people or even 1 as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission declares someone?
No. They have been very clear on that. They said the chairman of the Electoral Commission has no power to declare without the concurrence of the other commissioners, the majority of them. By the way, remember I contributed to this provision in their constitution. We had said the panel of eminent judges of the Commonwealth, going back to the Commonwealth, its usefulness, they can empanel people they regard as eminent lawyers, and we comment on law and provisions of the Constitution which there is doubt. That's what we did. And we said, in declaration result, we don't see any problem why there should not why the commissioners should be unanimous on the decision, because you are looking at the same facts, they don't change, you are looking at the same evidence. So I don't see why they should have divided. The Supreme Court, the reason they declare the results themselves is that apparently all the commissioners had met and had agreed on the result. But some of them passionately supported Odinga to become president. So
They really have
their
selfish
view, I
interests.
speculate, is that if we don't confirm the result, he will not become president. That is wrong. But where the Supreme Court went wrong, and I admired the Chief Justice and everybody for what I have said before, but every cloud has a silver lining. Rather, in this case, we should realize every shining sun has a black mark. They made a mistake, and they wanted these people hear you to write about it, and they asked me, and I tell them why. The Constitution, we made it clear, says the Commission will declare the result unanimously, or if there is no unanimity, by a majority of them. In the case of Kenya, this election, the results were not announced by the Commission as a whole,
Neither was
but
it the majority.
was not the chairman. But rather the chairman had no power or authority to announce the result without the concurrence of the other, either unanimously or by a majority.
Simple majority. Yeah.
And we know a majority
Should have been at least
refused.
4.
So what the chairman should have done is said, let's have all the results. And therefore, that's when we shall confirm whether one candidate or the other were elected constitutionally. They did not wait.
Isn't it because time wasn't their ally at a time? Because constitutionally they had that day.
Time should never bar
Justice
any
from-
court from administering true justice. Should never.
Couldn't it have brought...
Suppose, let me ask you this question. Supposing on the day, that very day, it was raining, pouring, thundering, and everything was closing, who would declare the election result? And who would be there, really?
Couldn't it cause a constitutional
The
crisis?
rules are there to guide us, not to blind us. So all that the Supreme Court should have done is to say, since we have disqualified the chairperson of the Electoral Commission as capable of announcing the results alone, we now order or find that the Electoral Commission commissioners meet again and collectively or unanimously declare the result.
Okay.
By declaring the results themselves, the Supreme Court was exercising the work
The Electoral Commission.
of the Electoral Commission, and that was wrong.
Okay. Our viewers, we have...
So the only mistake the judicial, rather the
Supreme Court.
the Supreme Court made in Kenya is to declare the results themselves. They had no power to do that. They should have ordered the Electoral Commission to do it.
Okay.
Nobody asked them, not even the lawyers of Ruta, why are they declining? So that was the only mistake made. And I'm sure that in the next election, whatever petition, they will collect it in accordance with that advice.
Okay. Well, with Justice Kanyeihamba, we're trying to have a few insights about the legalities and illegalities in the region. And I want to ask him, I am not sure whether you followed the Build the Bridge initiative, because I know you know that Odinga had been an extreme, to the extreme in regards to opposition. And for some reason, people believe that it's for some reasons he had to main defenses with Uhuru, which to so many people, amongst whom were his supporters or diehards, saw him as a betrayer of the entire struggle. And for that reason, this election was more or less a punishment that he shouldn't have mixed, his clean hands with the Build the Bridge initiative, the BBI. You remember the BBI? It had been even challenged everywhere. So what is your view? Do you think this election was more or less a punishment to the old man, and for that case, he may not contest again, and he must have lost that opportunity to be president of Kenya? What do you have to say about it?
Well, to answer that question, when the next election for the president comes, unless Ruto dies now, Odinga will be in his 80s. I am in my 80s. So I don't want any of us who are octogenarians, and octogenarian is one who is over 80, to ever govern any state in Africa or even in East Africa. So he'll be disqualified, according to me, from contesting anymore. This was his last chance. He lost it. He should go and look after his business. He's a very shrewd, powerful businessman. He should do that. When I challenged President Museveni and the NRM and the Attorney General recently, the case is, by the way, going to be heard. We have indicated to the court, the chief registrar, that we will be happy if it is heard on the 19th of this month, which is in a few weeks.
September.
And I hope they will accede to our petition.
Yeah.
The Deputy Chief Justice is a very reasonable man, and I'm sure he will direct that our case be heard on the 19th of September. Please put it, everybody knows, that on the recommendation of the registry, because I'm told some judges had said they would not be able to be present when the registrar, without asking our permission, has fixed the date. I think it was on the 17th or 14th of this month. Now we have written to them a letter
Suggesting 19.
we have written to the Deputy Chief Justice. They are the one who recommended that the 19th is free. So we are writing to the Deputy Chief Justice, Butera, Lord Butera, with a copy to the registrar of the court, of the Constitutional Court, and a copy to the Chief Justice, saying we are only able this month to appear and defend our petition on the 19th of this month.
Okay.
They should be getting our letters today. We sent them yesterday. Now, having said that, going back to the Kenya position,
Yes.
the Supreme Court made only one mistake, which I have described, that they should not have declared the results themselves.
Rather than
They should have
ask for the
directed the Electoral Commission of 7 members to do it themselves. The law says they should do it unanimously. But if they can't get unanimity, the majority of them should do it. And if these 3 say we can't do it, and the 104 of them say we can't do it without giving a reason, then they say those who agree with the decision, including the chairman, are now authorized to declare the result. I am sure they would be joined by 1 or 2 of the others. So they would form a majority.
the same thing that happened to you when you had the presidential petition of 2006. We want to, I do not know whether you will be precise if I ask you this question before we go for a break, because we have 6 also minutes to go for a break. I do not know whether it's fine. I forwarded the question to you in regards to inconsistency, because we want to really leave Kenya in this first hour, and then we come back to our constitution here. The inconsistency that saw Odinga more or less cross to Uhuru, and then the young people who had thought he was one of them punished him. Do you think, in your view, that this loss can be connected to the building?
Yeah, definitely, yes. You see, if we had election in Uganda, and she's a Besigye, whose principles I admire and beg everybody to emulate, and she's a Besigye wins, I would not question his integrity. But when a man is opposing Kenyatta, they are both standing as presidential candidates. You are standing on the other party. And then you are persuaded to accept to become his prime minister. You have betrayed those who believe in you. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
And we have had it in Uganda. A man I admired by the name of Norbert Mao, president of DP, which is a mortal enemy of the NRM, joins NRM as Minister of Justice and the Constitutional Affairs, and he still claims,
to be president of the same party,
to the amazement and the disbelief of everybody, that he is leader
of DP.
This is a contradiction. I think that even his grandchildren at the age of 3 would say, Grandpa, were you asleep? What are you doing? What were you doing?
Okay, we are...
But let me tell you more. The end he has undertaken to support the policies and the decisions of the NRM. Supposing one of the decisions is everybody is coming to us, including Mao, so let us abolish political parties. He's bound by collective responsibility to agree. To agree with the decision of the NRM and the President Museveni that other political parties should be abolished. Would he agree? If his answer is no, then what he's doing there as a Minister of Justice and Attorney General and obeying the collective responsibility of cabinet. It's a contradiction. It is absurd. He is no longer the president of DP. Those who are defending his decision went with him.
Yeah.
One of them has been selected and accepted by the NRM to become a member of the East African Parliament. Is that how we do politics? So I will leave it there.
Okay, our viewers, we are breaking for a minute or two. When we come back, we are beginning, I have it here, I have it here. We are beginning with the preamble of this constitution. Justice Kanyeihamba would love to tell us what inspired them to come up with that preamble. And by God's grace, in that very, our second hour, we should also touch some bit of national objectives and on whether or not we are still following these objectives, because he was one of the people that made this constitution. Let's come back in a minute or two.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hello, beautiful people. You're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo. Every Saturday, right from 6 to 7.
It is your responsibility. Omwana wo kubeera mu nyumba nga teyasuze bweru mbo bamubanja rent. Tukoye okulaba abalenzi abo abasajja abafunga. Butuufu tebabuulirirwa nga babulamu.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Digitalk. Mukwano gwange gwali topic kiri wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
You can take your time. Look for a job, stabilize, men will come. Men will always be there, you will get the men. Bonna goyagala musajja yenna goyagala ojja mufuna.
Embaga ketuuke. Bino bintu byasenga na ojja bafuna.
Naye ng'oli asitudde ttu yakedde ku makyabbaga nti nsitudde ttu. Naye nga mu butuufu agambye nti ye akyali muto.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships? Just be commenting nga topic yonna gyandiyagadde twogereko tujja kuba tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Digitalk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Okay, our viewers, we are back with Justice Kanyeihamba. We shall not leave any sentence, any word in this constitution untouched. That's the pledge by Justice Kanyeihamba. So as long as God continues to keep him with us and also keeping the team alive and strong. This is the 1995 constitution as amended. I'm going to read precisely the preamble and then ask Justice Kanyeihamba, because he was one of the people that made this constitution, which in his words and also to so many has more or less been abused. There are so many key things they put in this constitution, but his friend, now Tibuhaburwa, the shadow to Museveni, has abused this constitution. The preamble goes as follows. We, the people of Uganda, recalling our history, which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability, recognizing our struggles against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation, committed to building a better future for establishing a socio-economic and political order through a popular and durable national constitution based on the principles of unity, peace, equality, democracy, freedom, social justice, and progress. Exercising our sovereign and inalienable right to determine the form of governance for our country, and having fully participated in the constitution-making process, noting that a constituent assembly was established to represent us, to debate the draft constitution prepared by the Uganda Constitutional Commission, and to adopt and enact a constitution for Uganda, do hereby, in and through this constituent assembly, solemnly adopt, enact, and give to ourselves and our posterity this Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, this 22nd day of September in the year 1995. Keywords here. And with due honesty, Justice Kanyeihamba, in this very preamble you made, you talked about principles of unity, peace, equality, democracy, freedom, of social justice, and progress. Do we still have any?
No. No.
You're so quick telling me to answer that we don't have any. Let's begin with principles of unity. Is Uganda united?
No.
Why?
Because our politicians have made sure that we are divided, because being divided is advantageous to them to rule this country against the preamble and the provisions of the Constitution we all enacted together of 1995. That book we are reading from, I don't recognize it.
Why?
The amendment. I don't. I don't recognize. I want it to be the Constitution of Uganda 1995, not as amended.
As amended.
No.
Another question. You have already given us an answer as a no, that Uganda isn't united. Is Uganda at peace?
No.
You seem to have only no's today.
Some of our rules are killing us. They are persecuting us. They are killing us. Not for any other reason than that we support other principles like me or other parties like the MPs contrary to ethics and integrity who have been jailed for opposing the current brand of governance. They are in jail.
So the Uganda isn't at peace.
Some of them have been beaten and damaged because they were fighting in the parliament. And those who were injured, permanently damaged, were supporting the Constitution. And if you read, I think it is paragraph, rather Article CD, or thereabouts of the Constitution, says it is not an offense to defend this Constitution. That people have been damaged or killed for defending it.
we're still in your preamble. You had a no as an answer on whether or not Uganda is united.
Yes,
You
sir.
had a no on whether Uganda is at peace. Another question: do we have equality in this country?
No, no, there is no equality.
Is there democracy in this country?
There is no democracy.
Is there freedom in this country?
No,
Is there social justice and progress?
no.
So, in regards to the preamble, whatever you people put in the preamble
Has been ignored. Nevertheless, it is still the law and the constitution of Uganda. So they are those who are disobeying it, including this discussion, because you invited me to enlighten the people about what the provision of the constitution means, including the preamble, which we are doing now. But the government is obliged by the constitution to teach and explain the provision of the constitution, which they have not done. In fact, I wanted to appeal through this that I need to be facilitated. Not to you, I need to be facilitated to do this work. As long as I live, I will do it.
Okay.
But government, President Museveni, sir, the Minister of Finance, he's a friend of mine, and he never fails to talk to me when he's available. Kasaija, I am appealing to you. Since you have no time, you have had an opportunity, I am doing the work you should be doing. So facilitate alternative digital. I have asked the interviewer, the person who is interviewing, to write to you officially and ask for contribution. I hope you will oblige.
Okay. So what informed you of this preamble? Because literally, if you say, by the time you put all these things, for example, some of the keywords here is that recalling our history. It sounds rather so strong. Have we gone back to that history? Because if all your answers are, it's a not every single question as mentioned here in this preamble. What went wrong? And then we shall now go into the national.
I am writing a book, which is soon to be published, and I hope it will help to advertise it. And he says, what went wrong?
What went wrong?
I am asking that question and describe what went wrong. But what went wrong is when people become leaders in Africa, mostly, but in Uganda in particular, they abandon the principles and the beliefs they had before. Instead of elevating disease, poverty, and ignorance, they concentrate on games, how to keep in power, to exclusion of every Ugandan, to the exclusion of every other Ugandan, and how to stay in office and behead their opponents. That's why the consensus told.
So you had this preamble. What do you think compelled you to have such a preamble? And
when we became independent, like Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Canada, Caribbean, India, we all agreed that the Queen of England was ideal to be also of a leader of an association beloved and sustained by all the countries which originally
had been colonized
were possessions of Britain. she died yesterday. We still consider her as the head of state, as well as the head of the Commonwealth, even now. As I speak now, thousands of messages, if not hundreds, are pouring in London in appreciation of what the Queen did for her. On the other hand, with us, I have been one of those who have said that the NRM should be defeated in the next election because it has done more harm than good in its policies and the governing of Uganda. Fortunately, only one man has appreciated what I am saying, and that man is President Museveni. He's the only one who has responded to my question, are you retiring now? And should we discuss succession to your presidency? So he has agreed to both. All other Ugandans, including people who read or hear you, have kept silent because they are afraid of what might happen. Nothing will happen. You will just be concurring now with Museveni. That I agree with President Museveni, that he should retire now. And we should discuss his succession. Because he has agreed. President Museveni, Yoweri Kaguta, even Tumuhimbise has spoken about his succession and the retirement. And he said he's ready if his people ask him to retire now and they go to do a tour and they look after his farm. Then they said, are you grooming your son to become president? He said, no, we shall be succeeded by the sons of revolutionaries, of which I am one. He avoided the question, are you grooming your son? That's how he answered it. But he has answered both questions, which I ask in my book. Ask President Museveni to resign, and we talk about succession. It is him alone who has obeyed what I am saying, and that talks about both. But the Normans of this Monitor, New Vision, if you send them an article to that effect, they will not publish it.
Our viewers will just Kanyeihamba.
To cut through. If you read today's newspaper, in one section, they call Janet, Honorable Janet Museveni, which she prefers. If I go what she wrote to me means. They call her First Lady. But today they also call her Janet, the Minister of Education and Sports. She likes that. She wants to be called Honorable rather than First Lady. But they have characters in the Monitor and the New Vision who believe that they are flattering her if they call her First Lady. And they continue against my advice and the advice of President Museveni. That is Uganda for you.
Okay.
So when you read today's New Vision and the Monitor, ask the writers, even the editor, why do you call Janet First Lady when we have a letter from Kanyeihamba addressed to him by Janet thanking him not for calling her First Lady,
but rather honorable.
but honorable.
Okay.
Ask them, and this us next time if you can discuss their resources.
Okay.
They are there, their names are there.
Okay. We are done with the preamble. We have Justice Kanyeihamba, who already answered that whatever that was put in the preamble on whether we are united, whether we are at peace, whether there is equality, democracy, freedom, or social justice and progress, he says it's a no. And we need to tackle the national objectives and directive principles of state policy. General objective here. Implementation of the objectives. Because you are familiar with this document, which you drafted in any case, so
yes.
it's on your fingertips. We have a democratic principle as objective number 2. That the state shall be based on democratic principles which empower and encourage the active participation of all citizens at all levels in their own governance. Does this stand in your view?
No, it has become obsolete because of the way we are governed today by President Museveni, his cabinet, and the ministers. It is that article has become obsolete by misuse and violation.
There is Roman 2. All the people of Uganda shall have access to leadership positions at all levels, subject to the Constitution.
No, we don't obey that.
But we are seeing people in different levels. We hear youth councillors, youth MPs, women representatives.
But the MP, one of them said recently, I had to become a Narim in order to be appointed, in order to be elected a member of MP. What I am saying, there is all ample evidence to justify my statement. Yes, so the answer is no.
Roman 3, the state shall be guided by the principle of decentralization and devolution of governmental functions and powers to the people at appropriate levels where they can best manage and direct their own affairs.
The answer to that is yes.
There is some bit of...
Yes, there's some bit of that. And the none that seem to oppose, except when it comes to one region or to two regions, Buganda and Ankole. There, the issue in Buganda, some of the traditions which relate to the Kabakashi, including that the whole of Buganda is his kingdom, have been violated. You recall the incident where the government prohibited him from going to Kayunga.
Okay.
So that was a violation of that.
What I want there is this one here. I think it's 4. The composition of government shall be broadly representative of the national character and social diversity of the country. Given our leadership, does it represent a national character from the army and other institutions, cabinet, judiciary?
When you analyze
the
text of our government and who is ruling, who is who, the answer is no. It doesn't.
Okay. All political and civic associations aspiring to manage and direct the public affairs shall conform to democratic principles in their internal organizations and practice.
The current ruling party, the NRM, does not. The president, as its chairman, picks and rejects that kind of the people who would be qualified under that article. Therefore, indirectly, he doesn't believe it's in its sanctity.
I'm afraid it's like a no everywhere. Civic organizations shall retain their autonomy in pursuit of their declared objectives. Civic organizations. What are these civic organizations? Yeah, if you may educate the viewers. We mean religious leaders, NGOs.
They include religious leaders, civic and research parties. They include private organizations in schools, universities.
Do they have their autonomy?
They don't. You remember recently the elections of one of them, the guild
President
leadership at Makerere was suspended by the government, admittedly for suspecting that they were involved in the murder of a student, which is most regrettable from all quarters. But nevertheless, they interfered with the speaker, rather the Vice Chancellor of Makerere, an engineer who may not know very much about governance or decency, better rule, suspended the guild
elections
indefinitely.
National objective.
Without any authority.
National objective number 3, national unity and stability. All organs of state and people of Uganda shall work towards the promotion of national unity, peace, and stability. Is the populace working towards this? If yes, what about the powers that ought to supervise or even ensure that this happens? National unity and stability as our national objective number 3.
That only partially implemented, but only in reference to whether or not the NRA ruling party or its leadership, led by Museveni, agree. They are the ones who are exclusively empowered by our kind of governance to approve whether that should be done or is being done or is not done.
Okay. Under the national objective number 3, there is Roman 2. Every effort shall be made to integrate all the people of Uganda while at the same time recognizing the existence of their ethnic, religious, ideological, political, and cultural diversity. Is this realized?
Only partially. And where I say only partially, only if they support the ruling party or the rulers of Uganda, then that will apply. Only if they apply or comply. So that means recently the leader of the Roman Catholics in Uganda voluntarily visited President Museveni, who in return showered him with gifts, including money, as a result of which the Archbishop Semogerere said, "We support you and you have governed us very well." As a religious leader, because he knows what pleases himself.
Yeah. Roman.
Then he gave him vehicles. Yes.
Roman, there's Roman 4 here. There shall be established and nurtured institutions and procedures for the resolution of conflicts fairly and peacefully. Do we have, is that practical? Do we have it? Is it visible now that there are institutions which can nurture in, give in conflict resolution fairly and peacefully?
While it
Because
was
you were
still,
one of, you led the commission in regards to
while
conflict in
it
Islam.
was still listening to advice and respecting the Constitution of 1995, the ruling establishment obeyed that Constitution. It is under that principle that Justice Ogola, that Justice Sebutinde, and this person you interviewed held several commissions or led certain probe committees, and they came up with resolutions about the police, Makerere, the Ministry of Commerce, Tourism, reports which have hardly ever been implemented.
We will close with this. It's about the national sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. What stands out for me is the state and the citizens of Uganda shall endeavor to build national strength in political, economic, and social spheres to avoid undue dependence on other countries and institutions. Is Uganda independent that we don't depend on to any country's support or anything?
That has been ignored. We now depend on countries like China for those issues you have enumerated. We depend on several other countries for military and social development. So that one has been ignored, in my opinion.
I want to ask you to have your closing remarks in these 3 or so minutes, and then next Wednesday we shall begin with the national objective number 4. Number 5, which is very key, and that's your area of expertise: fundamental and other human rights and freedoms.
Very good.
Fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. Between now and then, I will share with you the so far passed bill by Parliament, that is Computer Misuse Act, which rather bill because it hasn't been assented to yet, which so many people say it has also come to gag the freedom. In fact, we are ourselves as broadcasters on social media, there is trouble. We are going to share it with you so that it can lead us into the next discussion on Wednesday about fundamental and other human rights and freedoms, which is very key. May you, sir, say your closing remarks.
The title itself of that chapter, fundamental and other rights, was the subject of dispute and heated debate. Other people, including people like Omar Otubo, saw that we shouldn't distinguish fundamental and other rights, that all rights are fundamental, whatever they are. But those of us who said we should have that title, we distinguish between fundamental and other rights. I'll tell you why. It is a natural right of everyone to ease themselves in the toilet. But that right is not fundamental. Like the right to be free without a court order. So we argue that they are not equal. Secondly, everyone has a right to eat. But not every Ugandan is fed. We are very poor. The people of Karamoja have died in hundreds because of lack of food. Because the government, although there is plenty of food in Uganda, has not been able to deliver provisions to every family in Karamoja for lack of will, first, lack of transport, and lack of access to every Ugandan who has died from death. So these are some of the things which occur naturally or by accident or negligence, but not by a deliberate cause of breach of those rules, simply because they are fundamental. They are not.
Okay. So those are the ones we shall begin with next week on Wednesday. It will be 11 a.m. Wish your viewers.
Can I end the story
Yes.
with an amusing story with the American ambassador then, when we were making our constitution? He also doubted every right matters. Every right is fundamental. So I asked him, Your Excellency, supposing you were rushing a man who is dying of hernia because the hernia came on his way to the voting, would you take him to the vote booth first to vote and then take him later to hospital? You can't believe. You know the definition of an ambassador is the person who lies, L-I-E-S, abroad for the good of his country. So he lied. That since all rights are equal and fundamental, I would first let him vote.
Before he's taken to hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
And then later take him to hospital. I did something very diplomatic. I said, Your Excellency, Ambassador Sir, you are a liar.
Our viewers, catch you next week Wednesday. We shall begin from the national objective number 5, fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. He will definitely go deeper by distinguishing fundamental human rights and other freedoms. Catch you next Wednesday, but tomorrow, Saturday, 10 to midday, we shall have retired Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye in a show, The Interface with Dr. Chiza Besigye. Later in the day, we shall have Snap Talk, that's at 6 to 7. We shall continue giving you our best as we continue praying to ourselves and ensuring that there is peace, not just peace in words, but indeed actual peace. May God bless one and bless all of you.
Thank you.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.